That time, everyone. It is your time, Noles fans. Florida State football talk here at the Voice of College Football. Let's get it. Leave those comments and questions in the live chat. We are talking FSU with you. Jason Parker, NBC6, right in the middle there. Logan Robinson, we're going to push you to the side because Jason's here.
Good.
We get pushed to the side. Jason takes the center square. Logan, Noles game day.
I am back. I mean, the Florida Panthers finally got swept out of the NHL playoffs by now. Logan, are you officially on the Lightning bandwagon since you're going to be moving to Tampa?
I'm not on the bandwagon. I'm not on the bandwagon, but I'll pull for them absolutely if I'm going to be moving down there. Definitely, if I go to a few more games, and I'll be like turn into maybe a fan. We'll see. I don't really have, I'm a Penguins guy. But I'm more definitely excited towards the Steelers. I kind of just picked the Penguins because they're in Pittsburgh. But, now that I'm, potentially moving down the Tampa area, might become a Lightning fan.
Because if anyone jumps on a bandwagon, it's Logan. I mean, you jump on a bandwagon like nobody.
Where else? I'm a Giants fan, San Francisco Giants fan. I'm a Steelers fan.
I'd also like to point out to Mark Rogers, I mean, you're still the voice of college football, but also at the same point, if we could go to the wide shot of Mark for one moment. Mark, if we could take your wide shot of you. A little small.
You're making me produce
Jason.
on the fly here.
Produce on the fly, I know.
There we go.
Where I've gone for a couple of weeks doing work, and there's no Florida State helmet. That's all I'm saying. I see a Gator helmet there.
Down on the bottom shelf.
Down there at the bottom was Stanford. Tough.
Wow.
You can see that. Yeah, it was.
Dang. Down there was Stanford.
But meanwhile, Tennessee gets up top, but now we're behind your head. I'm just saying, put us next to Alabama where
we've grown the helmet display, as you can see.
I see that.
And
do you have a Washington State show? I mean, honestly, what's going on here?
No, somebody sent me a Washington State helmet though.
Oh, God bless.
So,
man, I'm gone for 2 weeks, and things are blowing up here with Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college.
Absolutely.
Well, when I'm on the show consistently like this. The views start going up, the revenue, that just kind of starts churning and churning. The wheel just keeps going.
I'm only back because I've decided that I'm only going to come on the show when Big Game James Coleman is here. So now
I was about to say,
James is here, that's why I'm making my return. We see half of James right now with his head. But yes, that's why. I will only work with Big Game James Coleman.
There we go. I think I got it working.
That's fine.
Can you see me now?
Yeah, we see
you. Oh,
we
man, looking good.
It's a full show tonight here. Full show.
James is crystal clear tonight. We're going to cross our fingers.
Oh, yeah.
I had to pull out the iPad so nobody can call. Like, unless somebody FaceTimes me, then I'm gonna be really mad because nobody should face. It's the only two creatures that should be FaceTiming me are in my living room, so they can go knock on my door. So
nobody FaceTime James Coleman for the next 45 minutes or so.
Yep. Stop it.
All right, we're going to dive into the news of the day, and Jason has warned us. I was going to say promise, but he basically warned that he's going to be unleashing some fury later this hour. We will see.
You got to make fun of Miami. I mean, I've got 3 weeks of making fun of Miami to get in, so that's why.
Yo, man, you must be talking about the news that the last 2 days.
Which one? Oh, about a certain lineman?
No, forget that. About a certain NIL collective. I ain't never seen somebody fail that bad.
No, not
like, it got about as broke as me right now.
Thoughts and prayers at this moment. Thoughts and prayers for the Canes. We have a whole hour to make fun of the Canes. Let's take a bit step by step here.
Okay. Step number one would be grad transfer, Dimitri Emmanuel, interior offensive lineman, guard center, from Charlotte to Florida State, 6'3", 300, Logan.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, I know Florida State fans think Charlotte, Coach Atkins, boom, that already puts you probably in a really good spot if you're trying to seriously go after and target a guy like Dimitri, who I think is like almost as old as me. I feel like has been contributing to Charlotte since 2017. This is definitely a veteran guy coming in. Yeah, James is like, what the hell? We're bringing in 24, 25-year-olds now. But this is a guy that's been playing football for a very long time at the collegiate level. He started off 2 years on reserve and then turn into a full-time starter, play 25 games for the 49ers up there at Charlotte. And he's a guy that is going to most likely come in and have depth there, I think, from what we saw. And this is a guy that actually could, potentially, depends on how fall camp goes and such, could go in and be a starter. He's kind of a hybrid in that way. He can be moved around, but I think he's going to stay in the guard spot. I know Gibbons is really solidified at that left guard spot. So now that right guard, who do you want to have there? I think Coach Atkins, after what he saw in the spring, and Coach Norvell, and what looking back at last season too, with how awful the depth was, you're just kind of throwing in guys on the road that haven't even played the damn position before. And Coach Atkins, admitted that and told us that after one of those games, saying, a few of those guys, they've watched film and they've seen it, but they haven't played at that position in a collegiate level. And when you're on the road having to face an ACC opponent and you're just shuffling around guys that haven't even played in their selected roles coming into Florida State, or, haven't even practiced it, hasn't even gone through scrimmages, it's just terrible. And so I think, Coach Atkins, the whole staff is trying to make sure that they have enough depth, because this spring we thought first off that, this offensive line group might be one of the most, you don't have to worry too much about them kind of position group. And it hasn't been that way for years. And it was kind of like a blind side this spring. I didn't really feel good about that offensive line. I think too, you can't go against Florida State's defensive line this spring and how well they look with Fabian Levitt, Robert Cooper, and two potential starters too behind them with Jared Jackson and Malcolm Ray. They just didn't feel so good, I don't think, about the offensive line. Definitely depth wise, I think they feel pretty fine. They feel strong about their starters there, but they don't feel good, in my opinion, when one or two of those guys go down. They just don't feel good about it. So they're going after these grad transfer here, and I think they're going to go after big time guy out of a JUCO, which we'll talk about maybe later. But
Logan, along those lines, you talked about it a little bit when you were talking about Dimitri, but we talked about how Florida State was going to go after certain people after the spring game. We talked about where they're going to go after a quarterback, where they're going to go after some guys on the defensive side of the ball. Should this concern Florida State fans that you're still going after an offensive line, a group that, despite your constant praise of that group for the last 2 seasons, has been, for lack of a better term, god awful?
Just about them going after people, we should be worried?
Yes, but I guess my question would be: we've talked about it. The offensive line has gotten slightly better. I will admit that it gets slightly better last season. But with that being said, should we be concerned at this point, after what we saw in the spring game, that you're still going after offensive linemen because that group still has not solidified, I think, the way a lot of people expected?
Yeah, I mean, it was a little concerning after the spring. I just think overall, just looking at it, this is just a spring. I know Caden Lyles comes in. You got Bless Harris, but I saw more from Bless Harris than definitely Caden Lyles. A lot of people think immediately that Caden Lyles is coming in to start right away, and Maurice Smith is just going to be pushed over, and he's going to have a year to get bigger, yada, yada, yada. But I don't see that happening. I know James went to a lot of these practices during the spring too, but I don't know if Caden Lyles could have gone through a whole 4 quarters from what we saw in the spring. I don't know if it's just adjustment from going to Wisconsin to down here in Florida, but I think there's a lot of conditioning to do there. And still, getting snaps, there was a lot of problems there with snapping the ball for Lyles this spring. And I know that's just a little thing there, but damn, I mean, if you're going to be playing center there, that's something that has got to be, that's just something that you do every single day. And it should be easy, but it was a consistent, bad snap, bad snap, bad snap. And then you add on, the conditioning. I think Maurice Smith, that's his spot to lose. And then Bless Harris, he had his ups and his downs. And this is what you do. You go through a spring, you learn what maybe wasn't working, what you liked. And I don't think the staff really liked what they saw in their depth with the offensive line. And this is why they're going to continue, after landing this grad transfer, Dimitri Emmanuel, to go after more targets on the offensive line. Either if it's transfer, grad transfer, JUCO, they're going, even though they loaded up big time. They loaded up big time in their freshman offensive line class, and one of the best in the country coming in talent-wise. And that's fine, but you don't have experience there on the college level, and that's what they want. And this is exactly what they're going after. You're bringing in a guy that as the old cat coming in, Dimitri, and then you're looking at a JUCO offensive tackle, Makai Lee, who just recently is most likely going to get an offer. Plans on visiting Florida State soon, and it's between him and another SEC school, Missouri. 6'6", 315. This is a true tackle guy coming in that Florida State desperately needs. You can kind of get a feeling here. Spring didn't like what they saw. It was plain and simple.
I mean, I think you also got to look at it that offensive line recruiting has been abysmal since about 2013. You haven't. It's not even just so much the misses as much as you haven't really done the depth. One of my first articles that I ever wrote when I got into media was about what Texas A&M and why Jimbo was going into a better situation, and then what is Alabama, what is Georgia, what do the top schools at the time have in common that Florida State doesn't, and it's recruiting 4 to 5 offensive linemen every year, no matter what. They're bringing in talent, the depth, and those are the things that kind of help you be able. You can either push guys out, or the cream's going to rise to the top. You can't have depth if you don't recruit it. And then one of the problems that Florida State's really had in the last few years is that they keep recruiting projects, and eventually you got to make one of these projects develop. Lloyd Willis is one of those projects that a lot of people were high on. That I hope that they're right and I'm wrong and my eyes were wrong, because what I saw was terrifying. And now Robert Scott looked better, but you need more help and more depth. And I think Lyles, his body type actually looks like he belongs, but I think Maurice Smith, right?
Yep.
Maurice Green's the Mr. Fastest Man in the world. He's definitely not that body type, but he had an eating issue, and they hopefully got that corrected, so he's able to get the mass that's necessary to be able to play offensive line on a Power 5 level. But then you bring in, like you talked about, you bring in this guy Dimitri, you possibly bring in another JUCO guy, and at worst, these guys provide valuable depth. But if you what's the point of having 5 leftover scholarships right now and not using them? It's not like it's not rollover minutes. You don't get 5 extra ones. You don't get 90 next year if you don't use them. So if you feel like you can attack a need and be able to create more competition, God bless. Because the reality is these freshmen that are coming in are going to be grossly unprepared because they missed the entire spring. That's what's your boy from Miami name whose dad played here? The offensive tackle, but I think we're gonna play him at guard.
Armello.
Yeah, Armello's not gonna be ready. The other high 4-star kid, if he gets his grades, not even Woody, but Sapp. Now we saw the one guy who came in who was fat from Georgia, complete body transformation, by the way, too. I think he's number 69. Complete body transformation, what he looks like. Yeah, Kanaya. You need that's why Kanaya is an example of why you need early spring enrollees for your guys. But I understand St. Thomas Aquinas doesn't let kids early enroll, which I think is stupid now considering how much talent they put out. But those are the things I don't mind it. Keep getting better where you can get. You missed on. We wouldn't be having this argument if we got Mims. So like a few weeks ago, we were like, yeah, bring in Mims. We need the help. Same concept.
We'll interrupt the first-rate analysis here on the offensive line this is right in Jason's wheelhouse right here. Jason needs to take this one on. God. Let's make a bet this year. Miami, Florida State. If we win, y'all have to wear Miami gear for the rest of the college football season. If you all win, I'll donate money to Rising Spear.
When I was married to a graduate, something New King God never attended the University of Miami, but we all knew that was coming. And I was sick with the flu, and she brought me a glass of water in a cup, and I said, "Thank you very much. I'm going to need this in a different cup." If I refuse to drink out of a cup, do you ever think I would put clothing on this delicious temple of a body? That's never going to happen. I know it's not going to happen with James. I know Logan would never put green and orange anywhere near his temple. So no. If you want to tell you what, if Florida State wins, hold on. If Florida State wins,
Sure.
New King God will donate to Rising Spirit. If we win, or excuse me, if Miami wins, we will chip in towards, I don't know, John Ruiz's lawyer funds for his next Ponzi scheme when he gets arrested. The next player who gets arrested, we all know that's going to happen before the start of the season. So we'll donate to your legal fund at the University of Miami. We'll do that. How's that sound?
MSP recovery right now is $3.73. It opened up. If I guess the week high was $5.76. I will buy 100 shares of MSP recovery. Actually, by that time, they might be able to afford 1,000 shares.
There you go.
Keep it staying the way it is, so they can help with the NIL relief fund.
But the U.S.
The thing is, I have no idea how much money you make, New King God, and I wouldn't want you to donate to Rise of Spirit. It would have to be Mikinopi, 1851. If it's going to be anything for NIL for me, but I have no clue what you actually even can bring to the table. Like, I mean, it doesn't count. If Miami fans had as much money as they like to brag about the people who do have money, Miami would have never been in the situation that they were in. So, like, now if you were John Ruiz, I'd make the bet with you, but I don't think John Ruiz can. John Ruiz I believe he actually has some money. He just doesn't have as much money as portrayed. I wouldn't make that bet because I think big bank take little bank. I agree with that.
John Ruiz, when they do the U Part 3, when that eventually comes out, if Miami does ever win a national title again, he'll be that last hour. Like, if you remember in the U Part 2, the last 45 minutes or so was the Nevin Shapiro portion.
I'm so mad at him.
So yeah,
he'll be that last, the money.
Right, he'll be that last 45 minutes of that part right there for the eventual next probation the University of Miami is on.
Yeah.
See, you can get it in the first half hour. I can get in my cracks in the University of Miami.
It works out perfectly.
It's beautiful. Yes,
I was counting on it.
That's why I'm here.
Yes.
And we're here.
I would say Gibbons was a really, really late addition to Florida State's team last year. Yes, Kane Lyles has definitely a head start here, which FSU fans should be very happy for. But yeah, that's gonna be a big thing. Just getting in shape. That's gonna be big. Understanding how Atkins runs that offense. You know, Coleman knows a lot more about this at the collegiate level of understanding the system and what they're trying to run on offense. But going straight to Coach Atkins and what he does. These practices are hit a little bit different. And he and Coach Odell, I think, are the number one coaches that they'll let you know if you're screwing up, but then they'll also be the number one people to let you know if you pulled off a great play, you ran your right assignment. That it's something about that these practices hold that if you're doing the things right, they're going to go over there and tell you straight up, and you're going to get correct. Make sure you finish the play though. If you don't finish the play, then Norvell is going to get in your ear no matter what. Even if you're going to go score a touchdown, you got to finish. But that's the thing, Coach Atkins, and he runs a strict program there. Now he's getting some big guys in that room. But like Coleman said, Woody, we don't know. There's some optimism. I think there's better optimism now that he's going to be, in the system. He's going to be coming to Florida State. But Krishan Sapp, great size guy, but young, not going to start right away. Armella's not going to start right away, but really talented too. Those three guys alone that haven't hit the campus yet, they're not going to come in and make an impact. That's why you're going after these grad transfers. But yes, Dimitri is a nice addition too. And Charlotte's offensive line group, they don't play up there. So it's nice to get an experienced guy on the field, which Atkins and Norvell wanted.
Gregory, make sure Mark has your money before the LSU game. I want my money. Or if you're going to be in New Orleans, you can give it to me at the game after Florida State gets that win. After we get the dub, I want my money.
Yeah,
you guys.
That's crazy. This guy's.
Greg and I bet some money on the.
Oh
LSU
yeah.
Yeah. What did you guys settle on there?
I believe we said it was $20. We each put $20 in. I know. Sorry. Nice. All right. It's called balling on a budget, James. I saw the depressed look on your face. Right. We don't all have that. We don't have that Mikasuki 1851, whatever the hell you're doing. We all have that money, all right.
Mikasuki.
Whatever the
we could have called it that. Actually, now that I think about it, it would have been actually pretty damn good.
I said I come with ideas
here. Yeah, Dimitri played in 2017. This is an old guy. Old.
Yeah.
I don't know how that even makes sense, but
Well,
Still
hey,
kicking
hey,
around
Florida
just
State
like
played Alabama then.
he's kicking around just like your old guy James Blackman. He's going to be playing for Arkansas State.
Still alive?
Yeah, he's still
Yep.
alive, barely.
Still rocking, baby.
I'm gonna say a name that only James Coleman will remember. I think Logan will remember. Some of our OGs here will remember. He's David Castillo. That's all he is.
Yeah. That's my dog.
David Castillo got a bachelor's degree, got a master's degree, got a doctorate. I think he was Dr. Castillo by the time he left. Like, damn.
Yeah, he wanted to be a surgeon, but because he had so many surgeries, but his hands were so messed up that he couldn't do it. So like, he's actually a really good doc. I like David, but yeah, you're right though. Those med reds, that was before COVID. Like that, he got two medical. He got a red shirt and a medical red shirt. Stanford Samuels was similar.
Yeah.
Boosie had a whole bunch of years that he was there as well.
No, Greg, I don't have that much money. Let's calm down on that. No. We're betting you. That's it. I still owe Mark for a bad Georgia Tech bet last season.
We're not going to mention any other shows here, Badass Buckeye, but you're incorrect there.
Whoa.
All right. Willie says Florida State will be lucky to be 500. Miami at least has Van Dyke. Unless Bobby Bowden comes back, Florida State is on for Nowhereville.
Miami.
Willie is coming at it hard here on every show here recently.
Well, Willie
the
can't
Florida State guys
right.
in Dreamland.
Willie can't spell right, number one. Let's talk about that. The incorrect grammar. The grammar police in me is just disgusted by what Willie wrote here on this one. No, Willie is the delusional Miami fan. And as the one guy in the group who lives in Miami, I live with nothing but delusional Miami fans. I have a bet with one on-air talent down here who honest to God believes Miami will go 12-0 this season. Swear to God, believes Florida State, believes Miami will go 12-0 this season. Miami has 10-win talent at the skill positions. Yes, Tyler Van Dyke is much better than Jordan Travis. I've said that before. I'll say that again. I'll say that leading up to the Miami game on November 5th. But Miami doesn't know how to win the stupid games. Miami will go 8-4 this season and go, how the hell did we lose to Virginia? How the hell did we lose to Florida State? How the hell did we lose to North Carolina? That's what Miami's going to be. Can they fix that in a couple of years? Sure, absolutely. But entering this season, Miami does not know how to do that.
Someone won that. I was just going to say, it just hit me what I need to do with this show is I need to simulcast it on the Miami channel. That's what I need to do. I need to
just get it all engaged.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was going to say Jordan Travis won that QB battle.
He did.
This last meeting against someone who ran that last drive there.
Hey, you know what? But I'll say
Tyler
this. Let's give Tyler Van Dyke credit. Tyler Van Dyke threw more touchdowns than Jordan Travis. Let's be honest. He also threw more interceptions. He also threw more interceptions than Jordan Travis. I mean, he did more than Jordan in that game. He spiked it incorrectly with less than 3 seconds left on the clock. Jordan Travis didn't do that. I mean, Tyler Van Dyke did so many things different than Jordan Travis last season. That's two. That's 2 knocks on Miami. I can get this in all day.
All right.
I can get in at least 4 before the end of the show.
We are transitioning to the scheduling portion of our conversation here, courtesy BGPO Football Funk, and have a good time trying to figure out what those initials stand for. He finally had to tell me. Who will be Florida State's permanent rival outside of Miami? So for anybody that's not understanding what's going on with the scheduling, the ACC has basically decided that they're going with a 3-5-5 schedule, meaning that every school in the conference has 3 permanent designated rivals that they will play each season, and then the rest of the conference, there's 10 other teams in the conference, will be divided between groups of 5 and groups of 5 to alternate every year. So no more not seeing a team for 6 years as you rotate through the other divisions teams. You will see everybody at least every other season, but there are 3 designated rivals. Florida State obviously is going to draw Miami. That is the most important game in the conference the entire season in terms of rivalries. Who else, Jason, since you weren't around for Logan and my discussion last week, we'll kick it to you and then James in terms of who do you think Florida State's going to draw? Who do you think they should draw?
I think the betting odds are pretty simple that it's going to be Miami, obviously, because Miami is the cross-divisional opponent right now. It's going to be Clemson. I mean, they kept Clemson and Florida State together, and those are the teams that have essentially, for a good, you could make an argument that for a good 20, 25 years, those were the two teams that ran the ACC, were Clemson and Florida State. And it's going to be Georgia Tech. And we've constantly heard Florida State fans complain about why are we always playing Boston College, but we're only playing Georgia Tech once every 6 years. On paper, with Georgia Tech being kind of in the bottom half of the ACC, on paper, it looks good for Florida State. That being said, here's our pop quiz for today. When was the last time Florida State beat Georgia Tech in the regular season? Yes, they beat them in 2 ACC title games in 2012 and 14. But when was the last time Florida State beat Georgia Tech in the regular season? Here's a hint. One person in this chat played in that ball game.
Jeez, 2003?
2003 was the last time Florida State beat Georgia Tech. We lost them in 08, we lost them in 09, we lost them in 20, and we lost them in 15. That was the last time we beat Georgia Tech.
In the regular season.
In the regular season. Obviously, we beat them in 2 ACC championships, but the last time we beat them in the regular season was 2003.
Why do you think Georgia Tech's going to be that third designated team?
Because it's going to be the fact that it's the closest one. Technically, Georgia Tech is closer to Tallahassee. Atlanta is closer to Tallahassee than Miami, so that's why. Georgia Tech, Florida State played each other a lot before Florida State even joined the ACC. So that's where it essentially comes down to. Is it's a lot more people complaining about why Florida State and Georgia Tech don't play more often. I don't mind it as much because we're still playing Miami and Clemson. We play those two teams every year. That's who we're going to continue to play. You're essentially substituting a team like. I don't want to knock on them too much because they're the defending Atlantic Division champions. But back in the day when Wake Forest was kind of the bottom team in the Atlantic Division, you're replacing them with a Georgia Tech when it comes to scheduling. My question is going to be, what will the other 5 be? Are they going to be, are they going to be NC State? Are they going to stock one group with NC State, Virginia Tech, North Carolina, make it behemoths one year, and then the next year be Duke, Pitt, Boston College, and whatnot. So that's going to be my question. This one is, how are you going to separate it so it's as equal as humanly possible?
Do you care, James? What do you want to see the scheduling look like?
I think Georgia Tech, because of the Georgia being a hotbed, and that's a recruiting state that you got to win. Boston College does absolutely nothing for us. No offense to the Northeast, but just a completely different brand of football than what we play here. But Clemson, Miami, and Tech, I can see those. Maybe if our arm was twisted and they wouldn't let us have Georgia Tech, then it'd probably be NC State. One that's a little bit better now, has consistently been better over the last 20 years as far as what they've been able to do and what they've been able to produce. What I more care about is who Miami, who Virginia Tech, and who Clemson will have as their rivals, and North Carolina as well. Because for years, and this is the part again, it may come off as me being judgmental on them, but I'm not. I'm just disappointed because the Coastal has been historically bad since we've made the split. And North Carolina, Miami, and Virginia Tech have had easier paths to be able to get to that game, but Pitt has been the one who's been there more consistently. Actually, the Coastal, I think, is the only division that's had literally almost everybody represent at one point.
They have everyone in the Coastal
in a row.
Yeah.
They went 7 consecutive years with everybody making it.
Yeah, and that's
amazing.
While that sounds good for parity, it's terrible. We don't want that, and it's crazy because when you look at the Miami schedule, you're like, they should be the best team in the Coastal, but they lose somehow. But it would be cool to see Miami have to play Clemson consistently. It would be cool to see, and maybe a North Carolina, because that game has had really good implications the last few years. I want to know who Virginia Tech is going to have to play. I want to see. I don't want to see Florida State be punished because we're still quote unquote the road warriors from when we hit the ACC, and they're still, and they know no matter how bad Florida State is, it's still going to be a TV draw, and we still will have fans that are in, like, as far as the conference. I think outside of Notre Dame, we probably still have the largest fan base when it comes to season. Like when we come to a city, we will, feel it. That's kind of just what I'm more concerned about. I don't really like the rule. I'm gonna be honest with you. I like the divisions. I like the consistency that you'll have. I just didn't like, it seemed like every time Notre Dame needed to play somebody, they threw Notre Dame on us, and then every time that we kept getting a harder schedule. So that's my only gripe.
I think, in looking at it on the surface, I think the problem with this, and I agree with James, I'm not a huge fan of this either. But I think what it's going to end up being is they're going to try to put as much of the close teams together, like I said, the distance-wise, Miami, Clemson, and Georgia Tech. And I think that's what a lot of this comes down to. A lot of this comes down to is keeping the North Carolina schools happy. So that's what's going to be. All those four schools are just going to play each other, because I think there's a lot of people who are upset that North Carolina and Duke are in one, NC State and Wake Forest are in the other one. And once again, the ACC does everything to appease the schools from the state of North Carolina. As far as Miami goes, I wouldn't be shocked if they put like what John says right here. I wouldn't be surprised if Miami's teams aren't Virginia Tech, Syracuse, and Boston College, or Virginia Tech. Florida State's got to be one of them. So Florida State, Virginia Tech, and Boston College, or Syracuse, or something like that, to bring in the old Big East numbers from that accord. But if you're asking me, am I really upset that we've only played Georgia Tech once every 5 or 6 seasons? No, that doesn't bother me as much. And I don't understand, I like that we played Pitt, even though Pitt beat the hell out of us in 2020. I like that we played Boston College every year. I liked going up to Chestnut Hill to those games. I like going up to Syracuse. So I don't mind it as much. I think the question is, why are we complaining about the schedule when we just need to win games? Right now, over the last 4 seasons, we can't make an argument about, we should be playing Georgia Tech. We need to win games first, then we can have a say at this. But who else can have a say, since we're 11 minutes past his time here? I mean, he's been here the last couple of weeks. He can't even just interrupt and go with it.
Nope, I was letting y'all go with it.
You're right.
I was giving y'all your time.
We're out of the flow. You haven't been around, so
I get it.
Yep. You got to be here to direct us towards what we need to do.
Logan, you know what time it is. Get it.
It's time to hit the like button. Now we're on multiple channels, so now hitting the like button could be whichever channel you're watching this on. But it just helps us get more Florida State fans in here, so then we can not be bombarded with Miami fans. Number one.
Oh, absolutely.
We've definitely got Gators in here. That's how it always works. And then now we've got a little bit of Ohio State, and we don't have much problems with that.
Oregon,
Florida. I know
Florida.
North Carolina's in here too. But hit the like button. Definitely would appreciate it if you guys are just hanging out with us. Hit the subscribe button. Just anytime you guys want to be nice, just a little bit here. It's May. It's dead May. Nothing's going on. So if you could just help us get a couple views, that's all we're asking.
I mean, look, let's give you your update here on the Florida State baseball team. Mostly this is just to piss off Mark Rogers, the voice of college football. Florida State baseball in action today in the ACC tournament, taking on Virginia and spanking the hell out of the Cavaliers 13-3. So if Florida State beats Notre Dame, Florida State will advance to the semifinals of the ACC baseball tournament. Look at Mark's face. Mark looks like he's in a trance right now, talking about something other than football. Look at it.
The football show. Get out your baseball score. I love baseball.
Listen,
but it doesn't belong on my channel.
Mark, we are not a football school anymore. We just need to accept this fact. We are a women's soccer powerhouse is what we are. We were a softball powerhouse, but they can't even win regionals.
Yeah, tough. It's tough that we're in.
Well, I got to say, one reason why Florida State's played the toughest schedule in the conference, and you guys know this. First of all, you play Florida every year, and I know that's not a conference game, but the overall schedule's been tougher for Florida State than anybody else because you play Florida every year, and nobody else has that kind of out-of-conference game except for Georgia Tech, and nobody's comparing Georgia Tech's schedule and Florida State's. So you automatically have a tough game against Florida, and unlike a lot of other schools that just latch on to the one difficult non-conference game and don't play anybody else and refuse to see anybody else, Florida State to their credit, goes out there and says, typically, we want to play somebody else difficult, like LSU, Alabama, Notre
Georgia.
Dame, etc. So there's a second difficult non-conference game that most teams don't play. Number 3, you play in the tougher of the two divisions. To James' point, the Coastal's been nowhere close to the Atlantic. If anything, the top 2 seeds have been in the Atlantic Division in the conference most of the time, and that's been Clemson and Florida State going back a few years. So you've just played a more difficult schedule than everybody else in the conference almost consistently every year.
Notre Dame.
And your crossover, yeah, Notre Dame.
They deal with ACC. So, and I guess that's my question: is if you're going to go to 3-3-5 or 3-5-5 model, I guess the question then comes into play about the random game with Notre Dame, because if you're a Florida State team, let's say they go to this model and you have, when do we have Alabama on the schedule? Is it 27-28 or is that 26-20? What is that, Logan?
Which one is it?
Alabama. When we have Alabama on the schedule, I believe it's 25-26. So let's say it's 25-26. We have Alabama on the schedule.
3 years away.
So if you have Alabama, so let's say you have a schedule that has
25
Alabama,
days.
Florida, Miami, and Clemson right off the bat. Those are 4 tough games. And then let's say that happens to be the year that Notre Dame is on our schedule. I'm sorry. Do you really think that's fair for a Florida State team, especially one that's kind of rebuilding right now, to have to play that murderer's row schedule? That's where that comes into play. So I wonder if the 3-5-5 will say bye-bye to Notre Dame.
Well, the only game I think that has to be protected is the Miami game.
Yeah.
I don't agree with the 3-5-5 model because I don't think everybody has 3 designated rivals. Some teams have 1, some have 2, some have 3. I don't think you need to come up with some crazy model. I think you basically, what you do is you protect everybody's rivals, those rivalry games. And then other than that, I would like to see them go to, it's not really an NFL model because the NFL weights the schedule to weigh down the good teams and to lift up the bad teams. So it's a weighted schedule. I would go to an equitable schedule where I would build a 500 schedule for everyone in the conference to make it the fairest you could possibly make it while protecting the rivalry games. And for Florida State, that's Miami. Now, we could argue about Clemson. Some people consider that to be a rivalry. You guys don't, based on what I remember you guys saying about Clemson. It just became a rivalry because those were the 2 best teams.
Right. Clemson's only a rival now because they're better than us.
Right.
Like, it's historically, I mean, again, and this is just like, everybody uses the old man, except for when it comes to accountability. They love to quote him. But I never remember Bobby walking in there and saying, all right, guys, got Clemson this week, rivalry. It was never Miami and Florida were the 2 games that we prepared for a lot different than everybody else. But I agree with you, Mark. I think people confuse familiarity with rivalry, and that's not what it is. Like, Miami is a rivalry. Like, that is a thing that you could go back generations and remember that. Same thing with Florida. I mean, there's a freaking law or bill that was passed for us to play the University of Florida every year. So I mean, like, if we changed conferences and Clemson wasn't there, nobody would ever remember us playing Clemson in 10 years like that. So I mean, but I think it should be more random. I think the NCAA and the conferences are doing the most copping out and not being leaders. And this is where I really believe eventually the fall of the NCAA will happen, but not because of NIL, not because of conference games being boring. It's going to be because the people in power threw a big ass temper tantrum and decided to not do anything. So and just let everybody else handle the issues. When the whole point of being in leadership is to make the tough decisions.
I think that you could also, I mean, I guess my question is going to be, when I said earlier that this is basically for the North Carolina schools, I think they'll all be together as their 3 permanent opponents each other. Are they going to do it where you keep Georgia Tech, Miami, Clemson, and Florida State in one group because those are the most southern schools? Do you keep Syracuse, Boston College, Pitt, and I would assume Louisville, the former Big East schools? Do you keep all them together? I guess that would be my question at this rate. But Just win 6 games. That's our goal this season. I know. I get it. I know, James. I get it. It made me disgusted to say that. I remember being a fan during the Dynasty era, a student during the Chris Ricks, James Coleman administration, and I remember those moments when it was a lot easier to win games. But, right now, this is what we're stuck with Mike Norvell. I'm sorry, I forgot. Let me say that right because I don't want to offend Logan. The great Mike Norvell. Is that better, Logan?
That's right. Right.
Did I show your man respect there?
Well, I want you to do more of a bow when you do it, but next time it'll be better. Yeah.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
The plie, if you will.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No.
Well, Jason, hoping to get to 6 wins leads us right into a topic that Jason, of course, you brought up. Yes, Jason. What?
That's why I said that.
It was well done. Yes. And so I was making the segue without you pointing out to everyone that I was making the segue. All right. 6.5 wins is what Vegas says. I don't believe we've got ties anymore in college football.
No.
So people can either win money or lose money. No pushes here. 6.5. 6.5, Jason. You going over or under?
I mean, the optimist in me said 7-5. When the schedule came out and we did our way too early predictions, and as the season goes on, we'll make our predictions. Do I think Florida State has the talent to go to win 7 games or more this season? Yeah, I absolutely do, and I don't think that's being the biased Florida State grad. I think that's just looking at the facts. I think once again, it's going to all depend on that first month, that first game in August and those first 3 games in the month of September. If Florida State can get through, I can't believe I'm going to utter these words. If Florida State can get through Duquesne, LSU, Louisville, I know. It made me sick to say that, James. I know. If Florida State can get through Duquesne, LSU, Louisville, and Wake Forest at, let's just say, being optimistic, 3-1. I think Florida State is in a very good shape at that point, knowing that you'll still have, I apologize, Boston College, not Wake Forest. Boston College is the 4th game of the season. So if you get through that stretch right there, Boston College, Louisville, LSU, and Duquesne, it's reasonable Florida State could get through that 3-1. I think it's very optimistic at that point because you'll still have Syracuse left. You still have Georgia Tech left. You still have Florida and Miami left. And I think Florida State at least splits one of those games this season. So there is a chance at that point. What Florida State cannot do is cannot struggle early. Florida State cannot go crap the bed against LSU and then go up on a Friday night and get worked by Louisville. Could Florida State get worked by Louisville? Absolutely. Could Florida State get spanked by LSU? Absolutely. But it's going to all depend on that first month of the season.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of optimism, I think, after the spring and what the staff saw. But I think around that 7-win range is most likely what this team may be. I mean, if they get to that 8 and then you're able to compete and win a bowl game too, and you land on 9, and that's big for Florida State and recruiting and such. But this team is going to be, I think, carried by Florida State's defense. And, it's kind of always been a flip-flop of inconsistency between both sides sometimes. But I do think this defense is going to probably be that strong point of this team overall heading into the 2022 season. I think there's definitely weapons on Florida State's offense. I think that running back room is what's going to carry that offense. But from what we saw, at least the spring, it was dominant fashion. And I don't know if that's just because of Florida State's sheer talent there and veterans with Fabian Love and Robert Cooper causing that havoc. And then you've got Jared Verse coming in to practically replace what Jermaine Johnson had last year, and even younger caliber player too, which is even scarier to think of. And you've got Derek McLendon. I think this defense is definitely going to carry to where, a good defense usually can bring you to a good amount of wins. You just got to hope it's a little bit better than a bowl game. Game of 6.
Logan, I have to ask. I'm
Yep.
sorry. I have to ask. And I know that we've joked about this, that you were the eternal optimist amongst the 4 of us here on Florida State Live. Please tell me the 8 wins Florida State can get this season. Because I think let's be honest here. I think
I said 7. Did I not just say 7?
You
earlier?
said 7. You said
7. Then you get the bowl game win.
Out there. You threw 8 out there. You said 9 with a bowl game. So
that's what I was saying. If it gets crazy,
legitimately asking. I mean, I think on paper right now, I think we lose to Clemson. I can see us losing to either Louisville or LSU. I think we lose to NC State because we're never going to win in Raleigh ever again. And I think we drop. And I think we drop another game that we probably should. I think that's where I think there's at least 5 losses in there. So that's my question to you: is what do you see? What are you seeing that I am not seeing? Where is that source of optimism for you?
Well, like I said, 7 wins is what
8.
I was predicting.
8.
I said if they get a bowl game win, then you're at 8.
You said 8, and
if you win 8, then you win the bowl game and you get 9.
Mark, rewind the tape.
It was recruiting.
Rewind the tape.
I was talking about recruiting and what it does for it, but I'm not. Florida State should have dominated NC State last year. What happened? Jordan Travis wasn't on the field. You were working with Mackenzie Milton. That was atrocious. You were still trying to run the same offense that Jordan Travis runs, which was just that's what you get. And NC State looked awful to me. I know they got a good quarterback. We're thinking of the future for him. You are getting Durden. Durden's on that defensive line for NC State.
First team All ACC.
That's right. Right.
They have Dave Dorian.
Watch out.
Dave Dorian, Mark's favorite head coach in the ACC.
Great guy. Really great guy.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, great guy. But, yeah, that game shouldn't have been close. But you just didn't have Jordan Travis out there. I think – and, I mean, I don't even want to talk about Jackson State. I mean, there should have been 2 added wins last year. And it sucks because you didn't have you had a really bad call on defense. And not really too pitiful. You could have tackled, blah, blah, blah. But Jordan Travis, too, on NC State's side of things, that would have been a whole different game in my opinion. I mean, it even got close to them winning that game. But you could just tell you can't run the same damn offense with Jordan Travis and give it to Mackenzie Milton like that and expect him to do the same thing. I don't know. That season's long gone and over.
Florida State was
yes,
competitive.
It is.
Florida State was competitive last season. Let's just be honest. So you beat a Miami team that qualified for a bowl game. You beat a Boston College team that I believe qualified for a bowl game. You went to overtime with a Notre Dame team. So there were shining light out there. But I guess I look at a team and I'm concerned about building up this hope, saying, "Oh, Florida State's going to get 7 wins. Florida State's going to get 8 wins." And then we go out and lose to a Louisville team. We go out and lose to a Wake Forest team, and all of a sudden you're going to NC State at 2-3, and you're like, "Oh, well,
yeah, that was a different season." So, Jason, let me pose it this way before James jumps in. Let me pose it this way: you're sounding like there's a ton of teams on Florida State's schedule that they can't beat. Like it's loaded with Alabama and Texas A&M and all these other teams. I'm looking at a schedule where the ceiling's really high and the floor is really low because this is the ACC, and take out Clemson for a second. Mm-hmm. Aren't all these teams about Wake Forest, Boston College, Louisville? Like, I don't know who's going to win any of these games.
Right, but no. Along those lines, does Florida State have the talent? Like I've said this before.
They have the talent to win any of these games.
I've made fun of Miami before, but the same thing can be said for Florida State. Florida State has the talent to beat Wake Forest on October 1st. But this is also a Wake Forest team that beat the hell out of us by 21 points last year. This is and I get what Logan's saying about the Mackenzie Milton versus Jordan Travis. I get that and I understand that. What I need is last season I said Florida State would win at least 7 games, and Florida State went 5-7. What I'm saying is we've spent these years saying Florida State's going to be better, and then they go out there and they don't live up to that potential. So that's why I am a little bit cautious. I pray to God Florida State goes 8-4, 9-3. I pray to God in heaven that happens. I'm just being a realist that step 1, beat Duquesne on August 27th. Then we can focus from there. That's needs to be our number 1 step. Don't worry about Miami. Don't worry about Clemson. Don't worry about Wake Forest. Don't worry about anything else. Beat Duquesne.
I hear what you're saying, and you're 100% correct. That just makes for bad radio, though, like for the prediction show. Because the reality is what Mark said is 100% true, is that there is only one team on the schedule that from, I'll say two, because to be honest with you, Miami was more talented than us last year. Miami deviated from what was good, and the problem is the coach that they have now, whether they want to admit it or not, does what they're not good at. Like, you have a quarterback that's probably going to that should be a Heisman contender, but you have a coach who has shown you nothing but ground and pound and try to play defense, and that's just what the reality is. But from a recruiting standpoint, they've out recruited. When I look at what Florida has done and what LSU has done in the last 2 years, it's the turnover that they have, not just in the coaching staff, it's the players who have left and what they brought in. So it's kind of diluted what they normally are on the SEC level. Florida is taking a long-term approach right now with Billy Napier, which is odd because you fired a guy because he wasn't winning quick enough, but you're hiring a guy, giving him the patience to build it the way you want to build it, and he moved out a lot of people. Now, the wild card is Anthony Richardson, and now that he'll be playing for an entire year, what will you get? But I think that same wild card is what Florida State played against, and which would be one of my critiques. And I think if you sat Mike down, he would tell you that's part of the reason why they took a strategy that they did. Last year, they should have the strategy they're taking this year, they should have taken last year. If you the time to not replace Jordan Travis would have been last year and let him and ride out with him. You do need an adequate replacement now, just in case something happens, even though he seems to be gaining weight. But you brought in a guy that you never saw throw. You brought in a guy who had all the hype and everybody wanted him to succeed and achieve, but he only had one leg. There was nothing that he could have done to be able. He shouldn't. It's amazing that he's walking, let alone trying to play football, and that's why you lost to North Carolina State. That's why you lost to Jacksonville State. When the reality is, you shouldn't have ever tried him out there. You should have tried a Jordan Track because he wasn't hurt. He ended up playing in that. No, not that game. The game after that. It's like you kept playing musical chairs with your quarterback. And one thing that people don't understand is, especially when you've got various heights and game plan strategies, it really throws you off. Like, you've got a quarterback who's petite, and then you got a quarterback who's like 6'2", 6'3". And just even how the ball is leaving is completely different. So, like, you're as a wide receiver, everybody says wide receivers should catch the ball, but you're trying to catch the ball from two different throws. It's like a batter trying to hit somebody who's who can throw left or right. It's like you don't know what the hell is going on up there. Like, you're being confused. So I think Mike has no choice but to dance with the lady he brings, which is Jordan Travis. Now, that could really work well for him, which I hope it does. Or you're going to see the Duffy era begin. But even then, I still think that you at least know there's a level of certainty at the most key position that you haven't had to learn any of Norvell's tenure. You didn't have it during the COVID year, because that's when we found out that Jordan Travis could actually play. And then you didn't have it last year because you kept playing musical chairs. Just put the quarterback out there and let the chips fall where they may. And if he keeps getting injured, then you know that you need to go ahead and move on with somebody who's not injured, because the best ability is available.
Florida State Live every Wednesday, 6 o'clock Eastern Time with these three: Jason Parker, NBC 6, Big Game James Coleman. He's all over the place. I'm not going to, like Jason, try to pronounce his NIL because I forget how to. I don't even think I knew at the beginning. So James.
Mikanopi.
1851. I'll get it at some point. Mikanopi, 1851, fifth quarter college football, Sports Den Live. James is all over the place. And, of course, Logan Robinson and the Discord that you got to join. The Discord, Jason, at Knoll Game Day on Patreon. Get on over there. Do it. Yeah. And keep in mind, everybody, that we've had about 150 folks on the line, about 75 on the main channel, about 75 on the Florida State channel. So guess what? You can all join us on the Florida State channel next Wednesday. So we did this to say, hey, we're here every Wednesday night on the Florida State channel. So join us over there. So you had a good time tonight watching us talk Florida State football. Join us on the Florida State channel next Wednesday at 6.
Maybe
Eastern.
James and I will show up next week. You don't know. You just got to stay tuned.
We know at least James gives it a try. He at least
Well,
gives
James
it
got
his
his
best.
Wi-Fi. Look at his Wi-Fi. It's
I got my iPad
so
working,
it
so
works out.
we're gonna be good. We should be fine. Wait a minute. Yeah, we should be good next Wednesday. I don't know. School's out, so I got to look at I got to ask my son what's my schedule because
Thank you.
I got like all I know is I got a bill for like $3,000 for sports camps all summer. I'm not happy about that.
So, so donate to the fund to help James.
He needs an NIL deal.
He's
Yeah, get the NIL deal.
There you go.
He needs a name, image, and likeness deal.
Okay. I am being summoned to another show here. I won't mention the name of it.
That's the
But,
team we beat. We beat them last year, right?
You did.
We did. We did.
Pulled off a
They did.
miraculous 4th and 14 play. I should tell you about it sometime. It was
They should.
phenomenal.
They should make shirts about that.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Back here next Wednesday at 6. James, Jason, Logan, you guys are the best. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.